By now, the entire world has seen this human piece of garbage stab this girl on a train for no reason whatsoever. The video until now stopped here and the rest was left to imagination. But now we have more. Before I continue this, I will tell you there is no blood and the actual stab is not seen. But this video is horrific and nauseating. So that's your warning. Here's the continuation. It is just pure horror. Look at this girl's eyes. Tragic. She had to make eye contact with evil. And terror is on her face. Now the shock of realizing that something's wrong. She probably doesn't even know she's been stabbed yet. And the pain in her neck is probably just starting to creep in. And now she's left to cry as her life slips away alone because not a single person could offer her help or even an "Are you okay?" You could give these people the benefit of the doubt as perhaps they don't quite realize what happened, especially because it happened so quick and without warning. The guy walks down the train, which I've blurred to spare you the blood that's everywhere, and he seems to say, "I got that white girl." You got like blood real? Then while standing alone he seems to utter his reason for this whole thing. After he leaves, you can hear some people finally discover what's happened. Oh my god, this video might be excruciating to watch, but it should be seen by everyone because this is horrific and it's being allowed to happen across the country, and the president is now talking about handling the problem. There was also a horrible killing recently in Charlotte I talked about, and so many others. You know, when you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions. For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with democratic cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people. Really, very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists. And they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C. in District of Columbia, the capital of America. Was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place. One of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city. And we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is, please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities needs help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again. And that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe.
This stop is East-West Boulevard Station. Please exit right. This stop is East West Boulevard Station. Please exit right.
Have you ever felt completely safe, only to have that safety ripped away in a single instant? That's exactly what happened to 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska, a young Ukrainian woman who fled the horrors of war, hoping to build a new life in the United States. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Crime Lab Report and click the bell icon so you never miss a story like this. These are the cases that make you think, make you question, and sometimes haunt you long after. Iryna arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina, with her mother, sister, and younger brother. They left Ukraine in 2022, escaping the relentless violence that had consumed her home. Imagine the courage it takes to leave everything behind, the streets, the friends, the familiar smells of home, and step into a world where everything feels foreign. Iryna was determined. She was bright, full of life, and had dreams that stretched far beyond surviving. She enrolled in English classes at a community college, determined to improve her language skills and make herself a part of her new community. She also had a job at a local pizzeria, Zeppedy's, where co-workers adored her. They didn't just see her as an employee. She was their friend, a warm presence, someone who could always be counted on to bring a smile during a busy shift. The owners later said, "We lost not only an incredible employee, but a true friend. And you can feel that grief even now as you hear about it." But Iryna wasn't just hardworking. She was creative. She loved art, sculpting, designing clothing, and expressing herself in ways that brought joy to those around her. She also had a soft spot for animals, often taking care of neighbors' pets without expecting anything in return. Her life was small yet full of purpose, a patchwork of work, school, art, and care for others. She was building something meaningful, quietly and steadily. On August 22nd, 2025, all of that changed in the span of a few terrifying minutes. Iryna was riding the Lynx Blue Line light rail in Charlotte, heading to work as she did every day. She never could have imagined that this routine commute would end in horror. A man named Decarlos Brown Jr, 34, approached her. Brown had a long criminal record and serious mental health issues, including schizophrenia. But even knowing that, nothing could prepare her or anyone for what happened next. Surveillance cameras later captured the attack, showing a sudden, unprovoked stabbing that ended Iryna's life in an instant. The brutality of it stunned the city and shook a community that had embraced her as one of its own. What makes this story even more chilling is knowing who Iryna was before that moment. She was not just a victim in a news headline. She was a young woman with hopes, with a family relying on her, with talents that had the potential to blossom. And in one fleeting moment, all of that was gone. Now, let's take a moment and think about the kind of fear Iryna must have felt in those last moments. Imagine sitting on a train, your mind focused on work, maybe thinking about what to eat later, or a friend you're going to meet, and suddenly realizing someone is coming at you with pure intent to harm. It's almost impossible to comprehend unless you've lived it. And that's what makes this story so gut-wrenching. Her family, still grappling with the shock, describe her as someone who always looked out for others. Her younger siblings adored her, seeing her as a protector, a sister who would fight for them, not against them. Her mother, who had already endured the terrors of war in Ukraine, was faced with a pain so unimaginable that words fail. They said Iryna never caused trouble, never sought out danger, and always tried to find the good in people. Yet, in that single moment, her life collided with someone whose mind was clouded by delusions and a violent history. Now, this is where things start to get complicated, and why you might be questioning how this could even happen. Decarlos Brown Jr. had a history that spanned more than a decade. He wasn't just someone who made one bad decision. His record included armed robbery, assault, breaking and entering, and other offenses. But it wasn't just criminal activity that made people nervous. It was his mental health. He suffered from schizophrenia and had been experiencing delusions for months leading up to the attack. Family members tried to intervene, tried to get him help, tried to have him committed, but the system failed them. Hospitals declined to admit him, citing legal limitations, and even after a short stay in a psychiatric facility, he was released. Think about that for a moment. Someone with a long history of violence and serious mental health challenges, who had shown signs of deterioration, was out in the public, moving freely, and Iryna crossed paths with him at the worst possible moment. It raises questions about how society balances mental health treatment, criminal justice, and public safety. Could this have been prevented? Maybe. Should it have been prevented? Absolutely. But here we are, left with a young woman's life taken too soon and a family that can never get her back. The attack itself was sudden, almost surreal. According to witnesses, it happened so quickly that people nearby didn't even have time to react. Screams filled the train car, panic spread instantly, and by the time authorities arrived, it was too late. The randomness of it all is part of what makes it terrifying. Iryna didn't know Brown, had no conflict with him, and yet she became the target of someone else's internal chaos. It's a stark reminder that sometimes violence doesn't announce itself. It comes uninvited, without warning, and leaves devastation in its wake. But here's the thing, viewers. Iryna's story isn't just about her death. It's about her life leading up to that day. It's about a young woman who survived a war, who worked hard to make a new life, who had dreams and passions and a family that loved her deeply. And it's also about the intersection of human frailty, mental illness, and societal failure. These aren't just headlines. These are real lives. And when we look at them closely, we start to see the cracks in the system, the moments where intervention could have changed everything. Now, here's where the story takes a chilling turn. After the attack, when authorities arrested Decarlos Brown Jr., recordings and interviews began to surface that shed light on his mindset. In jailhouse audio, he claimed that materials had been implanted in his body by the government and that they were controlling his thoughts. He also said he believed Iryna was reading his mind. You can hear how disconnected from reality he had become, and it forces you to wonder how someone could spiral so far without the system catching up. It's hard not to feel a mix of anger and sorrow when you consider that months before the attack, his family tried to get him help. They watched as his behavior became erratic, attempted to have him hospitalized, and were met with bureaucratic obstacles. It's one of those moments where you pause and ask yourself if just one intervention had worked. Could Iryna still be alive? These are questions we all wrestle with in cases like this, and they stick with you because the consequences are so permanent. But the twist doesn't just lie in Decarlos' delusions. It lies in the randomness, in how a young woman like Iryna, who had overcome so much in her life, could be struck down on what should have been an ordinary day. The juxtaposition between her hope and his chaos makes the story almost unbearable. She had survived bombings, displacement, and the struggle to find her footing in a foreign country. And yet, despite all that strength, she encountered a danger she couldn't have anticipated, from a person whose reality was fractured in ways most of us cannot imagine. This is where we, as viewers, need to step back and reflect. We can talk about laws, bail, mental health, or criminal history, but ultimately, this is a human story. It's about the fragility of life, the unpredictable ways paths cross, and the heavy responsibility of society to protect those who cannot always protect themselves. Iryna's dreams, her laughter, her creativity, her care for her family, they all ended too soon. And it makes you think about the people we encounter every day, the silent struggles they may carry, and the moments that can change everything in the blink of an eye. Now, I want you to consider something. How do we process a tragedy like this? How do we reconcile the randomness of violence with our sense of fairness? How do we honor someone like Iryna, who had so much life ahead of her, while grappling with anger towards someone whose mind was unhinged? These are not questions with easy answers. They linger, they unsettle, and they force us to examine the world around us and the systems we rely on to keep people safe. If this story made you pause, made you think, or even made you feel a little unsettled, do something meaningful with that energy. Share it, talk about it, and reflect on the lessons it leaves behind. And if you want to continue exploring cases like this, uncovering the human stories behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe to Crime Lab Report. Click the bell icon and stay with us. We bring these stories to light not just to shock, but to remember, to learn, and to understand the depths of the human experience.